On the morning of May 14th, 964 AD, Rome awoke not to holy bells or solemn prayers, but to gasps of horror and whispers of scandal echoing through its ancient streets. News spread fast. Pope John XII, the supreme head of the Catholic Church, had died. But not in prayer or peace. He perished in the middle of an orgy inside the sacred Lateran Palace. He collapsed during intercourse with a married noblewoman, reportedly struck by a stroke in the height of lust. It was a death that scandalized even the most jaded Romans. But this was no ordinary death. It marked the shameful climax of what historians now call the most corrupt, depraved, and disgraceful papacy in Catholic history. Who was this man who dragged the Vatican into disgrace? To understand the rot, we must go back to the 10th century, an age where power reigned and holiness was sold. In 937, Octavian was born to Alberic II, a ruthless Roman prince who controlled both church and state. Alberic ruled Rome with an iron fist and corrupted the church to serve his will. Octavian grew up not with priests or prayers, but surrounded by luxury, lust, and political schemes. His father turned the Lateran Palace into a pleasure palace for nobility. When Alberic died in 954, he forced the clergy to swear that Octavian would succeed him in both political and spiritual rule. Thus, a prince was crowned pope at just 17. Octavian became Pope John XII and immediately defiled the sacred office. He saw the papacy not as holy duty, but as license to indulge in every carnal desire imaginable. The Lateran Palace became his playground of sin. Orgies were held nightly. Mistresses filled the Vatican. Married women, widows, prostitutes, and even nuns. Chroniclers like Bishop Lutpran of Cremona recorded the horrors. Relics were gambled away in dice games. Pagan gods were toasted in feasts held in sacred halls. John XII even turned St. Peter's Basilica into a stable and racetrack, defiling the holiest temple of Christianity with horse races and drunken parties. His corruption was total. He sold bishoprics to the highest bidder and used church funds to finance wild banquets and sinful luxuries. Nothing was off limits. Even in an age of low morality, John XII shocked his peers. His rule disgusted Rome's nobles and drew concern from kings and clergy across Europe. In 961, John crowned Otto I as Holy Roman Emperor to gain military support. But he soon betrayed him, secretly conspiring with his enemies behind the scenes. Otto I, disciplined and morally upright, was enraged. In 963, he marched on Rome with his army, determined to purge the papacy of its filth. John fled the city, taking concubines in the church treasury with him. He hid in Tivoli, but the emperor had already begun what would become a historic papal trial. Otto convened a synod, a council of bishops and nobles, to put the pope on trial. Witnesses came forward, and the accusations were staggering. John was accused of murder, rape, incest, heresy, simony, and more. One bishop claimed the Pope tried to violate him. Others described selling ordinations for money or beauty. The synod deposed John XII and elected a new pope, Leo VIII. But John refused to step aside. When Otto left Rome, John returned with mercenaries to seize the Vatican. His revenge was brutal. He tortured and killed his enemies. One bishop had his right hand and tongue cut off. Others were exiled or assassinated. John XII ruled with hatred and hunger, but his time was running out. In May 964, during yet another orgy, He invited Stefanetta, the wife of a nobleman, into his bed. In the middle of intercourse, he collapsed. Witnesses said he suffered convulsions, then paralysis. He was just 27 years old when he died in the very sin he lived for. His death shocked the empire. His funeral was quiet and shameful. Many refused to attend. His name had become synonymous with blasphemy and disgrace. The Vatican buried him without honor, trying to erase the memory. But history would not forget. The scandal was too great, the shame too deep. Historians call his era the Pornocracy, the rule of the whores, when Rome's papacy was ruled by lust, gold, and violence, not spirit or salvation. Modern scholars believe John XII suffered from narcissism and sexual psychopathy. He was a man ruled by desire, devoid of conscience or control. His papacy is a dark lesson. Even the holiest institutions can fall to ruin when power is unchecked and leadership is unworthy of the trust it holds. 9 centuries later, his name remains a symbol of moral collapse. He turned the Vatican into a house of vice and died at the climax of his own corruption. Though the Church would later rebuild and reform, the legacy of John XII lingers as an eternal warning. Power without virtue leads only to ruin.